got this wire. I got all my pieces cut off, I think. I don't think I missed any. If I did, we'll fix it as we go, I guess. Flatten these out somewhat. In fact, I'll use my obese body for something constructive for a change here. Folks, I was just going to remind you once again, you know, there's different ways of building one of these. Obviously, this is just what I'm doing. I'm using what I have. Obviously, if you've got it, or if you have the means to go and get it, it would make a lot more sense just to put a sheet of, you know, cut off a piece of plywood and put on the bottom of this thing. You know, I think 30 inches by 36 inches or something like that. By all means, if you have it, I've got a sheet of plywood over there, but it rained and it's wet. And I've got some of that laminate over there. It's like laminated particle board. And I don't think I want to put it on the bottom of this because the bottom of the brooder gets wet. It seems like chickens are very creative in finding a way to spill their water. And I don't think that would last very long. So this being whole lumber is the next best thing. Now, just to show you what I'm doing here, this is a side. It's going to be like that. Okay. And then I've got another piece for over there. Now, these pieces right here, there's 10 of them. I am going to have to cut the last one of these on. There's 5 per side. Okay. And I kind of guesstimated on those. I think I'm going to have to cut one piece, maybe a roll or something, off of one piece on either side. But now you're probably thinking that's pretty silly. Why didn't I just cut a long piece like that? Well, here's the reason why. Okay, this I plan to be 30 inches this going this way, which would give me an even number of 1-inch cells going across. Okay, well, it didn't happen that way. All right, and so if I turn this way, I turned it that way. Okay, see how this lines up right here? I hope you can see this, but this lines up about midways of one of these longer. Okay, well, if I cut that off right there, I'm going to have the little prongs of the wire sticking out right there on the corner, and I don't want that. Okay, whereas if I use one of these and put it in here, see, I can make that match up because if I have to cut it off and trim it, going this way, I can cut off one inch at a time, and which I can make this work because this is 29 squares all the way across. You see what I'm saying? And I can cut one of these. These are 6 inches, and I've got 5 of them for each side, which is 30 squares. So if I've got it figured right, I should be able to cut one row off of one piece on each side, and I should have my 29 squares, and it should all match. Now, I'm going to a lot of trouble, but if you've ever been poked by one of these rascals sticking out somewhere on a rabbit cage or a bird cage or something like that, especially if you didn't see it and you were going like this or reaching in, if you've ever had one of those scratch and dig into your arm, trust me, you go to a lot of trouble. You don't tolerate that. And if I just cut those pieces out, then I would have an opening right here on the corner, just like that. Well, trust me, if they wanted to bad enough, a 3 or 4 day old chick could get out of that. Yeah, there's a chance they might not figure that out until they're too big. But, you know, this took me like maybe 5 minutes longer, and it might take me half a handful more of these J-clips to get the job done. So, it's just what I'm going to do. By all means, I mean, you know, like I'm saying, that's what I'm saying here. You don't do this the way I'm doing it, because you may have different materials. if you have the means to go buy your materials for something like this, naturally you're going to want to get good plain 2x4 or 2x4 and 1x4 lumber and maybe some plywood and put it all together. Now I'm going to put this up here together. When you're first putting a couple of pieces of this wire together, you're going to wish you had about a dozen hands, or at least 3. Oh, and everybody in this household, at least but me, has had sense enough to go to bed, so I am on my own. Well, except for you guys. Y'all are welcome to throw in and help out here if you can find a way to do so. Good luck with that. Now what I usually do when I'm putting this wire together is on the very end. On the very end I'll put a couple. If it's a long cell, I might even put 3. And then I'll put one, now going long ways here, I'll put 1 every cell. And which still, again, that's probably way more than necessary. But I'm not gonna force you poor folks to suffer through all of that. You know, you see what I'm doing, okay? This is a J-clip. I'm sure I've showed you these before, but just in case, it don't take but a second here. Let me. Oh, here, I got another one. See? Looks like a J. That, whoop, here, there you are, I think. Looks like a J. That's why it's called a J-clip. I hope that the light's right on that. I don't have a monitor set up here for my camera. I'm fairly low tech here. Anyway, the bottom part of the J sits down into there. Actually, I prefer to do it the other way. Bottom part of the J sits right there, and the top part sits in there. And as you squeeze it, watch, as you squeeze it, it makes it roll. And it rolls around the wire. Okay, and make sure you get it set up when you go to use it. Make sure you get it set up to where it's going to go around both pieces of the wire. Because if you don't, it can be a pain in the butt with a pair of pliers to try to get that back apart. And then you just got to go back and put another one on. So, but you see what I'm doing? It'll be just more of the same. There we go. We'll, so I guess what I can do, I mean, if you have any questions, if I'm not showing you enough, I mean, some of my past videos ended up being pretty long, and I feel like maybe they were just boring, and most people, judging by the watch times that I've been getting, nobody's been watching 100% of my videos. And I can only assume that that's because I'm boring and people start to fast forward. I guess, I mean, if I was watching somebody's video and they're boring, I fast forward too, so I can't blame you for that. But I'm trying to learn to do things a little differently. You know, I figure, you know, if I'm going to bother having a channel and putting videos on it, I may do the best job I can manage. Even if I'm not doing, I haven't done a good job in the past, that doesn't mean I wouldn't like to learn to do a better job as time progresses. You know, it's one thing, my noodle's still working, my old brain's still ticking, I guess. Part of the time, at least I can, you know, parts of me that don't work right anymore, at least I guess I can still learn something, hopefully. Again, I guess time will tell on that one too. Well, now's a good time for me to cut the camera off. There's another one of them stupid trains. So I'll cut the camera off, I'll do the other side, finish this up. And I guess what I'll do is I'll get some progress done on the sides here. And when I can show you a little bit more about what I was talking about, how I'm going to make those things line up. And I'll get back with you then. See you in a bit. Alright, good people, as you can see, we're back, and we've made a little progress while you were away. Just showing you how we're got a couple of these left to go. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing, piecing these together. Okay, see, I'm turning them and I'm orienting the cells in the same way of the top. Okay, and that way when I put them in, see, that's what happens if you don't make sure both of them, it's got a hold of both pieces of wire. You'll get a hold of one or none of them, and then you you just get to do it all over again. Okay, let's see if I can. Here we go. There we go. Now we go. Just to let you know, folks, sometimes these things will be pretty far apart, and you'll have trouble. As that J-clip curls around the wire like that, sometimes it'll slip in between because there's too large of a gap. Well, if that's the case, I just use these old trusty channel locks. Tell you what, I love them. I don't know where I'd be without them. And I'll just kind of work at, bend it a little bit if I have to. Sometimes I'll hold it. Sometimes I can just do it like that and it'll stay to where I can just go back and put a clip on. Okay, and you know, it's just a little trick, something to keep in mind. Because you're gonna run into a case where you'll probably need to do something like that. Because this wire, as you can see, it's not very straight. But I mean, it's brand new wire. It just came off the roll, you know. But the problem is when you try to straighten it out, you know, because it comes off the roll naturally curved. When you try to straighten it out, especially a bigger piece, sometimes you end up making things worse in some ways in order to flatten it out where you can work with it. But I guess I can turn this around a little bit but I don't really have a good place to stand. That's why I had it turned this way. This is where I usually work from, but I don't know if that's any better or not. I have to get me a monitor or something. I guess one of these days I can hook up. Well, it don't matter because I can't hook one up to that camera anyway. I don't think. But see, I've clipped it here. I've clipped it here. Now, as you can see, how this is a little bit square. But if you look down there, see how that one straightened out. Once I got all the pieces together, you know, all this wire is square. You know, once I got all the pieces together, you know, it'll square itself out pretty good as you go. Now, this is not going to be real great because this obviously is not going to have a bottom on it. But as long as it stays on the box here, it should be okay. Now, they'll have to be careful. We'll have to be careful with it when we pull it out, you know, like to clean it or to empty it out or what have you. Or if we need to store it, we might need to hang this part up somewhere and what have you instead of leaving it sitting flat. We'll just have to be careful with how we handle it, you know. This wire will bend. You can get heavier gauge wire than this to use for this, but it's a little out of my budget. It's a lot higher wire. It's this more expensive wire, and nobody, at least here, sells it locally, so I would have to order it online and pay shipping. And those rolls of wire are not light, especially if you get a heavier gauge than what this is. So you know, if this only lasts half as long, I guess, you know, by the time I pay shipping and pay the higher price, this may last half as long, but for the same price I can buy twice as much. So the thing is if you keep these cages, this wire, if you keep this wire up off the ground, you're not going to have, I mean, it's going to last a good long time for you, okay? The only time that I've had acceleration, I guess, of its lifespan, I guess you would call it, you know, or premature decomposition. I don't know. Anyway, the only time I've had it to last or to start to deteriorate sooner than I think it should is in some cases when you use it for rabbits. That the stuff that you use for the floor, if your rabbits are good little rabbits and always go to the same corner to use the toilet, that wire right in that corner is going to be constantly, you know, multiple times a day soaked with very caustic urine from a rabbit, and it will eventually eat right through what galvanized or zinc coating there is on that, and it will, and then of course it's going to accelerate the rusting process, and there's just nothing you can do about it. I mean, you know, we'd all love to have all of our critters potty trained. I guess that would certainly save a lot of work on a homestead. I just don't see it as being doable or practical. So sometimes when you get down to the last corner, they don't want to. It doesn't want to. The wire won't want to fit just right. And I'll show you what I do about that, because sometimes the last, you know, that last corner on the piece sometimes it wants to be a little contrary, and I mean, it's not a big deal. But let me get a few more of these on here and I'll show you what I do about it. Now, everybody does this different, but like on the end of the wire down here, I like to put 2, because that takes up the space in between these 2 wires right here, more of it, and it won't allow that wire to slide so much. Now see, that moves quite a bit, but it's not connected. It's not completely connected on that corner yet with all the, I mean, I don't have all the clips on there. So, and not to mention, it really needs another clip right there, and we'll get to that in a second. On the corners, I like to put 1 J-clip per inch. You know, the corners are going to take a lot of abuse, and not to mention that's where the cage is kind of, its structure, if you will, is coming from. All right. Now what I do, see this little corner right here, it's not mating up those 2 pieces of wire. Well, just like I was just saying, I'll take, and if you have to, sometimes you have to just bend it. The main thing is, if it's bent over a little bit or something, that's fine. The main thing is you've got to have a clip there. Okay? You just have to. That would just bug me if I didn't, in that last little corner there. Now, remember what I was saying about having to cut an extra square off of this? It was 29 wide. Well, by putting all these upside down, yeah, it was a little more time, a little more work. Big deal, I got time. You know, I'm not lazy, I guess, to a point. But this is what happened. See there? I could cut that off now. And I did the same thing on the other end, but it was off camera. Okay, but I'm just cutting that off. Okay, and now let's take this, and that'll sit right down in there. Yeah, it will eventually. Yeah. Okay, there it goes. Anyway, see, it's not. I mean, it's not exactly pretty. I'm not sure exactly what happened here. See, that's raising up a little bit off the wood over there, but it's fitting on the other 3 corners, so that might have been out of square. It might have been, oh, it looks like it slid up a little bit. But anyway, this is what it looks like, and it's going to hold. It's going to make a way for the first home. Straighten that out a little bit. It's going to make the first home for hopefully a lot of baby chicks. Now, since I can modify this pretty much at any time, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right here, because being as I used, you know, a fairly short height for the wall, and you know, I explained earlier reasons for doing that. It was, I mean, I guess it would save a few inches of wire too, but that's not why I did it. It was just to hold, keep, if I have to put a brooder light on top of here shining down in, the closer it is, the more heat gets to the chicks. But I can also possibly go from using, say, a 75 watt or a 60 watt bulb in that brooder light, I can go to using a 40 watt bulb, you know, and it saves a little electric. Might be a little safer to have, you know, because it puts out a little less heat. It'll put out a little less heat, but they're going to be closer to it. The tote that they're in right now, some of the chicks, is a tall plastic tote. I mean, it's like that, and the light is on top of it, shining down through some wire like this that's zip tied over a hole in the lid, and it's sitting up there on the wire so that it, you know, we couldn't use the whole plastic lid because the light would just melt the lid. So we cut a hole out in the lid and put some of this wire, zip tied it over the hole so the chickens couldn't make their way out, and so that we had something just like this to set our brooder light on to shine down in there. But they are crowded, and not to mention the day after Christmas, I think my wife has got about I said 18 or 19. I take that back. She set 60 plus, and I think she said about 19 or so of them were infertile at first candling. And I don't know, I think everything that she's got, I don't know exactly how many are in the incubator, but I'm sure there's between 30 and 40. And I think they're all healthy and going to hatch. At least she hasn't told me otherwise. That's her baby. That's her thing. If she needs my assistance, she knows, you know, I'm there. But as far as the incubator and the chickens and the candling of eggs and taking care of all that, setting eggs, that's her baby. And if she don't need me, I just let her do it. That just suits me. That just suits me just fine, and it seems to suit her just fine. She loves them. But I'm gonna leave this like this, and I think for the time being, and because it's getting late, I want to get in and get some rest tonight. So what I'm gonna do for now is leave this like this, and I'll talk with my wife, Dana, and see. This actually was going to be somewhat of a Christmas surprise because she's wanted me to do this for 2 or 3 weeks. Or 2 or 3 weeks, I'm sorry. Yeah, that'd be nice if it was only 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 years she's wanted something like this built. And it seems like, you know, in true husbandly fashion, it seemed like I always come up with an excuse or a reason to not do it, or come up with something else that takes priority that needs to be done first or something. Well, she's not had one. She's needed one this size. Everything that she's used, it seems like she's constantly trying to find something else to put her chicks in when she starts hatching them, because she can't, what she has are so small, it'll only hold 10 or 15 chicks, you know, up to, say, around a month old, you know, and that's usually about the time they get feathered out good, around a month old, something like that. But this right here, up to a month old, I'm thinking should hold 25 or 30, but we'll see. It may not. We'll just have to see, because they don't stay in there very long, and they don't need as much space, but we'll just see how this goes. Now, bear in mind, this wire, if you have them in a cool environment or a drafty environment, it's as simple as throwing a blanket over the top to cover up some of this open space and cut down on the draft. You can put clear plastic over the top, like what some people staple or tape over their windows, or something that you can do that I may do later on. Okay, take a little bit of sheet metal, okay, and cut it to fit, and take and make knock some holes in it with a nail, put some baling wire through it, make like little hinges, and make it to where if they're not needed, you can flip them over and lay them up on top. But when you need them to cut down the draft or whatever, you can fold them back down and let them hang down. Now, that's not, I mean, it's easy to get cut on the sheet metal too. So that's something to think about. It might be something she might just want to wait if she needs it. Around here, dollar store, Dollar General store or whatever, ain't nothing to it. They've always got boxes out back, and at least here at our dollar store, you're welcome to all you want to take. We bring them home and use some of the cardboard as fire starter material for the wood stove and what have you, but cardboard's not hard to come by, is what I'm getting at, and she might want to just take some zip ties or something and just put it up there, put some cardboard up there when she needs it, rather than have that sheet metal there when she doesn't need it, and run the risk of somebody slicing their arm or hand or something open. Again, because if that sheet metal's up here, that could be something that'll get in the way of wherever she wants the door. So we'll work it out, and I hope this gives somebody some ideas. Let you know I'm still around, still scattered. Now, not really scatterbrained, but I do good if I can get my brain to work at all. I come up with ideas all the time, but sometimes I either don't have the energy, I don't have the materials, or I don't have the tools to get them together. But this right here, you can put a light on. I'm actually going to try to find a heating element, like what you use for some of the commercial Brooder pens, and a thermostat, and hang it inside here. That way you don't have to run a light all the time, and if you've got a thermostat, it'll turn on and off. Say if you set it for 90 degrees inside here, and you put your thermostat up in there, it'll cut itself on and off and maintain the temperature of 90 degrees wherever you put that thermostat. So that could be further on down the road. If somebody's interested in seeing something like that, leave me. Sometimes I think that, you know, somebody might be interested in. Other times I don't. Other times I just don't want to take the time to video. But if I know somebody's interested in something, I'm not going to pass up the chance to make a video that I know, if I know somebody will actually watch it. You know, we've got videos that's been on YouTube for months, and you know, just barely a couple hundred views. So, you know, sometimes I wonder, you know, is there really a need to keep putting videos up on YouTube if, you know, no more people than that want to watch them? So we'll see. Maybe it's just a matter of finding a little more interesting subject matter. Y'all have a good one, and God bless.